Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Brian, Arwin, 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. Get there in the end. Welcome, one and all.
Hurrah!
Hey, everybody.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are.
Good morning.
Me.
Hello, everyone.
Ace had a hello from Discord without being prompted. Just what I love. Any evidence of a physical, geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature, used to block boats and buildings and stuff.
I think it's still known as Earth curvature, though, even though they've never claimed it.
Even though no one's claiming the horizon's Earth curve.
That's a negative.
What?
There you go,
I
Neil.
said
You're
that's
very
a negative,
distant.
General Oakley.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey, hey, hey.
Good to have you. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No, but we can calculate it into existence, and then you can think that there's axial rotation.
It's not a phenomena
you
unless it's an
calculate
observed phenomena.
How do you calculate something into existence?
You don't. It's called reification.
They do it with gas pressure as well. I was watching the Adam Meakin conversation yesterday with the rumpus, and PV equals nRT, focusing on the word, the letter V, volume. Rumpus doesn't like talking about that. He likes talking about something that's minor. He wants to major on a minor point and completely miss the major point. So yesterday's show was really good.
Well, wasn't he saying velocity too?
Yeah, he was trying to confuse people. That's his namesake, though, isn't it?
Oh, he was doing it
Disruption.
deliberately. Okay.
Of course. You just joined. Chocolate, hello. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody.
Good
Hey,
morning.
What's up?
Sun, any evidence thereof? Distance to the sun?
Got chocolate in the morning? Is that what I heard?
That's a negative. That's a negative, General.
Don't call me general.
No, no distance to the sun.
That's a negative, Commander.
Brigadier, at the very least.
I'm detecting a bit of a theme today.
What's that theme that you're detecting?
Neil's referencing everybody in the military style. I'm detecting a bit of a theme.
What do you mean,
Is he-
Corporal?
I think you'll find that would be private.
I'm
Boom,
offended.
boom. Boom, boom is right. Nice one there. Get back to boot camp. No distance to the sun.
Hold on. Let's just push that a little bit further. Sleeping Warrior is pointing out that there's a bit of a theme going on from you, Neil, in terms of your referencing military stuff. What gives? What's the point? I don't get it. If Sleeping
Well,
Warrior does, or
Brian
you-
said the other day that flat earthers are a small group of like special forces, and I agree. And I think there should be a rank. Got to decide who's, is it Nathan, QE, Sleeping Warrior? How does it go? Like, there's got to be a ranking.
So I'm a lowly private. I'm offended.
not at all.
No, I put you up there.
I don't
Well,
want
Nathan
any part of
brought me
this. I'm not interested.
It's okay, Anthony.
I'm not anybody's
speaking, you were
leader. I'm not the
commander.
boss of anybody, right? Nobody's here under duress. So nobody's the boss of anybody in this scenario. We're all on our own journey. Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys. Afternoon, Supreme Leader.
Here's the Admiral.
Supreme leader.
Hey, Adam, I started watching The Mandalorian. You're right. It's great, man.
Damn. Not going to be any more. They kicked Gina out, but
She couldn't
Okie
keep
dokie.
her mouth shut. My cousin who's into the film industry, he told me she was warned a lot of times to just keep your opinions to yourself. Couldn't do it.
She's a fighter. Don't forget.
You want to add something? Percent? Or was that Syn Cleanser? Oh, it's good. Okay.
What does that mean?
Good hits, Lite. I'll just put you on normal mute so you can unmute yourself when you figure out that you're making a load of disturbance. So, distance to the sun? No, nothing?
9.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
No, again, see, that's another one of those things that you like. Like they assume R. They also assume gravitational field. I realized that, like, when they were talking about, what was the example now? There was a really good conversation where they were talking about, it was to do with Einstein and Newton, right? Newton's apple, like, falls from the tree, hits Newton on the head. He wonders what causes that, and he doesn't want attributing to him a force. But 100 years after he dies, C.V. Boyes and Cavendish did exactly that. And then from there on, we have the heliocentric model. Einstein obviously says the opposite is the case. He says that the Earth moves up, not the apple moving down. And obviously, we don't care which way around it is. We just want to point out that both of them are reifying the observation with mathematics. They're calculating the effect. But none of them decided to manipulate the presumed cause. So ultimately, you're left with a reification because they apply mathematics only to it, and it's not based on experiment. So fundamentally, it's flawed because they're just calculating the effect and they're attributing it to, like, Mickey Mouse stuff. So we know what we can demonstrate is the cause, and we don't reify it with mathematics. We demonstrate it with experiment, and we know the reason why things accelerate. So it's like we've gone one step further than both Newton and Einstein, and then we did the maths to it afterwards, because maths isn't part of scientific method. But obviously, if they calculate something into existence, for them, that is enough. They want to accept that as, the gospel according to them. And we all know that that's nonsense. You can't calculate stuff based on no experiment whatsoever. You have to do the experiment and then base your maths on that, and they don't have either.
Yeah, can I answer your question?
Well, but just before you do, it's just interesting you bring that up because Merle came into the pre-show and asked us a question about how we would explain the sun and its gravitational attraction within the begging the question fallacy. And I'm like, well, you've got an assumption of the gravitational field to begin with. The orbital mechanics is also assumed. So, yeah, Anthony, exactly. That it's requested that we work under the assumption that this force that's not a force that you can think of as a force does exist because they mathematically reify it. And then we've just got to accept that. It's like, no, hold on. Why have you reified this force into existence to begin with? Why?
Nathan,
Hello.
the normal mute that you call normal mute is actually you blocking them. So don't use that normal mute.
Oh,
Just
really?
overmute them.
Oh, shit. Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
realize that's... Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. Do I need to take...
Good job, Righteous.
Sorry, I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know. What can I say? I thought that the higher mute was just like their internal mute that they could then take off again afterwards.
I want to comment on Sleeping Warrior statement. So when reality can't back up any claims of the R value, then the only thing you're left with is calculations.
Yeah, calculating into existence an R value. That's why Rumpus will always start his sentence with the words, well, if you imagine a sphere, well, that's literally the admission that he's reifying into existence mathematics. Well, don't imagine a sphere. Don't make any assumptions. Just calculate based on real-world experiments after the event. So what is the cause of the... we're talking about the radius now, any evidence of R. So where is the evidence for R? Where is that? Because if we haven't got it, why are we assuming it anyway in the first place? And the answer, of course, is because if we don't assume it, the model doesn't exist.
And we do it as flat earthers. And we do it as flat earthers.
Answer to that.
Hold on. We do it as flat earthers. So when I've pulled a few people up on this in the last couple of weeks, they'll say things like, we see further than we should, or the clock shouldn't be there. It's like, no. What you're doing is automatically giving them the leeway to have the question begged. and assume that it's a sphere, but what we're seeing is an anomaly based on us being on a sphere. Therefore, the clock shouldn't be there. It's like, no, the clock's just there, you see it. Why are you suddenly apologising for it being there? Because it shouldn't be on the sphere model that we're not living on? You're just begging the question on their behalf when you justify something that you see as not just something that you see, but something that apparently shouldn't be there. It's like, no, it should be there. It's just not on their model. Their model might say it's not going to be seen, but it is. Who cares? That doesn't mean it shouldn't be there.
Well, that's interesting because when you ask people, like, what was your first proof or what brought you around to flat Earth, a lot of them will say, and I've said it myself, was I see too far. So
Exactly.
you're right, we're already putting
Too
them on a
far?
ball.
Yeah, exactly. Too far? What do you mean too far? You just see what you can see. Oh, it's too far based on an assumption that there's a physical geometric sphere edge horizon that will block my view with its physical limitations based on geometry. It's going to obscure things into the distance. Therefore, when I see something in the distance, it shouldn't be there. I see too far. No, you don't. You just look and see. No explanation required for a flat earther. For a glober, the clock that apparently by flat earth standards shouldn't be seen, it's like there it is, you're seeing its photo. Well, that clock for a globe believer is a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified sphere edge horizon, now debunked with the black swan, to make it a refracted hologrammatic clock that shouldn't be seen. Well, that's their problem. Loaded on nonsense that I don't need to justify in any way as not being there or not supposed to be being there. It's there, I see it, it's a picture, there's a clock. Here's the distance I can see it at. Not seeing too far, just seeing a clock.
So how do we change our vocabulary? Like, what do you say?
Comes
Because
with time.
the
It
whole
comes with
world
time.
thinks we're on a ball.
Comes with time as you learn that the magic is in the language. Right? Atmosphere. You say it without thinking about it. Well, what do you mean by atmo, air, sphere, fundamentalist religious presupposition that air takes the shape of a sphere? What do you mean by that? When you say atmosphere, you just mean the air around you, right? Well, it's just air. But it's been hijacked in the language so that you're always reifying this concept without even being consciously aware, just by talking. That's all you need to do. Well, that comes with time. You realise where you're saying things that you go, why have I got this in my language? Well, because it's part of the magic, that's why.
It's like saying abracadabra. Just keep saying sphere, sphere, everything's sphere. Atmosphere, ionosphere, thermosphere, just keep saying sphere, and everything's a sphere.
It's like gravity, isn't it? The more we talk about it, the more it becomes a thing. It becomes, we speak it into existence when it doesn't actually exist.
Ooh, that reminds me, Sleeping Warrior. That video you did like a few days ago, right? The one with relative density.
Outstanding.
Do you have the original video to that?
It's in the description box.
Is it? Okay. Because I'm very curious about something. Because I found it kind of funny how there was so much global spiral due to that video on your comments. I'm wondering if it'll be the same when you go to the original video with the original comments, because it seems like when somebody like whoever's speaking in that video is describing reality, you know, it seems like the normal people would just say, wow, this is a great video, explains a lot. But on your video, apparently, like, there's a lot of global tears. People saying, "Oh, this makes no sense. This is ridiculous." It's like, but you did create that. This is just her explaining relative density, things we could actually practically work out.
Stop a sec.
There's so
One sec.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. So I'm going to ask a question, then I'd like Anthony to position this so that the audience understand what we're talking about. So first and foremost, any scientific evidence of gravity, and then Anthony, can you frame why I'm asking that question and how it's relevant, what your video is, and why we're talking about something that's cross-referenced with an original? Can you explain all that for my audience, please?
So gravity is the observed phenomena where things fall down. Well, we know that down is defined as a relative term, and it's the term that's relative to us because we point, up, down, we point. So with regards to gravity, we see an observed phenomena. Some things appear to float on water, some things sink in water. We do see a phenomena, right? But Einstein and Newton both calculated that effect based on two different, wildly different concepts, but they didn't test anything. So to answer the question, is there any scientific evidence for gravity? Yes, there is. we can demonstrate it. We know what causes gravity. We can accelerate stuff by giving something a bit of a wiggle, and we can demonstrate acceleration within our topic. However, they have only ever calculated the effect. So previously, the answer would have been, no, there is no evidence for gravity. But now there is, because 18 months ago, I put out a video where I did a little bit of egg movement with a bit of salt. 18 months later, it still hasn't been debunked or got even close to it. Now, obviously, it was a little bit of a time period lapsed in the meantime, and I've only recently added the maths to it. But I can now confidently say that there is evidence for so-called gravity. But it's not called gravity anymore. It's now called relative density, because everything's relative to a medium, exists in a medium. Even if the medium's a vacuum, it still exists in a medium. And we can cause acceleration relative to that medium by manipulating either the medium or the object in it. Either way, we can cause the acceleration ourselves. The problem is you can't see the force of pressure. So fundamentally, we know it's there because balloons burst because too much of it. We do know pressure's a thing, but gravity is now demonstrated within our topic by manipulating the medium or the object. So the answer now is yes, there is scientific evidence for gravity, just not the way that they used to call it.
I'm going to be upset with you.
Hold on, Neil. And how is that relevant to what Chocolate asked? So Chocolate's asking you about a video that you've got a lot of disdain from Globers underneath, but yet there's an original that wouldn't have that. Why would that be? Can you frame that particular bit, please?
I had to go a little bit further because she didn't go quite far enough. We know the reason why things accelerate, but when you apply it within our topic, all of a sudden you haven't got the other two scenarios, Newton's or Einstein's, anymore, because they couldn't manipulate it. But if you take it the step further than the original video and apply it real world, all of a sudden you debunk Newton and Einstein unintentionally, unless it's pointed out to you, and that's all I did. I pointed it out.
You're not doing what I'm hoping
That's
for.
why I asked. That's
Hold on,
why I
Chocolate.
found it so funny.
Hold on. The audience still doesn't know what you're talking about. So Anthony's taken a section of video that's made by a different YouTuber that goes through, in no bias terms towards heliocentrism or flat Earth, how relative density actually works. And it's merely a fairly detailed description that's been trimmed out, and Anthony's published it. Now, below that, there's a load of disdain from globe-believing people who don't like a mere description that's fairly mainstream of how relative density actually is described, with pictorial and I believe there was a few physical examples as well. Well, when you point out that to globe believers with normal standard rhetoric, normal standard descriptions, they lose their stuff because they can't cope with it, because it essentially replaces what they describe as gravity. Go on, Chocolate. Sorry.
Nah, it's all good. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why I was pointing it out, because when I was looking at it and reading the comments, I was like, I'm pretty sure if I go back to the original video, this will be regular people just saying, wow, this is a great explanation for what's going on, because it is. But the only difference between that video and what Anthony did was say, well, this is what gravity is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's the only difference. And then you have Globers spiraling in the comment section. It's hilarious to me.
It is. And all I've done really is taken what I realised was the cause back like 18 months ago, and then applied scientific method to it. And when you do that, all of a sudden you unintentionally realise that Einstein and Newton, you just debunked them. The problem is they just don't like it. But that doesn't change the fact some things are factually true. And if you do manipulate the density of an object or the density of the medium the object sits in, it does cause an acceleration. Now, you can deny that as much as you want, but you can repeat that yourself. You can demonstrate it to others. And it has been done. Rachie and then 0, 0, 5 zeros, Rachie 0. She repeated it and she demonstrated to herself that it caused an acceleration. She repeated it. But they ignore the independent variable. They calculate instead of accepting the definition from the independent variable. And if you ignore the independent variable, then that allows you to reify mathematics into existence. But if you accept the independent variable, you debunk Newton and Einstein in one swoop, and they just don't like it. That's the problem.
I have a question about Newton's apple. How come you don't think that he thought about all of these things? Or did he just go right to gravity?
Honestly, I think that Newton saw the movement, wondered what caused it, came up with an idea, didn't like the idea, but then died, and then it was attributed to him. I think Einstein then saw the idea, realized Newton was being defamed in his death, corrected it. But if Einstein's theory of general relativity was applied to Earth instead of space-time, he would have directly, completely, and utterly debunked Newton, because essentially that is what he does. But he created a new geometry for it to exist in to confuse the matter. But ultimately, we've realized what's going on. We can see the fourth wall now. We are the fourth wall.
Newton wrote his
More
Principia
accurately,
in Latin. So when he mentions the word gravitas and the word massa, he's not speaking about the same terms as the ballers use. So he didn't do, like I'm agreeing with what Anthony's saying, he didn't do what they claim he did. Even when they tried to give his the equation that they claim is from him, it wasn't from him. So,
You want to add something, Elijah?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
gonna say sounds like a classic suiciding to me, but it's just my opinion.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Just looking at stuff. And then keep looking at stuff. Yeah.
And calculate stuff, and then it becomes a thing. We can calculate the convection currents in Venus based on squiggles on paper and interpretations of heat maps and things like that. And then for all of a sudden, we know what Venus is doing, and we say it's just a light in the sky. How do you know this stuff? And there is no answer to it. They just calculate stuff. They reify things into existence. That's what they do.
Yeah, but the math works.
It's not. No. Without a good story to help visualize, all these calculations don't mean anything. It's actually the story. That's the real astrophysics. The calculation is just the complicated tool to convince you that you're really smart and technical. It's the just so story that makes the real science.
I don't know, because half the time these guys don't even know the story, but they know there's some type of mathematics that hold whatever story they're not even aware of that makes it true, reifies it into existence. So they don't need the story. They just need to know there's somewhere out there there's this magic equation that solves everything.
No, they make predictions,
That's
chocolate.
the story. That's the story about the equation.
Predictions. Are those
I just wanna-
scientific predictions or no?
I just want to give an exclusive reveal in the sense that this is something new that I've started doing recently. Basically, I've started taking ownership of relative density in the sense that Blurthers completely ignore it, and they just think that they've debunked it just by speaking it into existence, and that they think that's a debunk. But because we know that speaking stuff into existence doesn't debunk shit, that we also know that you've got to demonstrate that there is a debunk by doing a test again, adding a bit of mass, and then it not causing an acceleration. And we know obviously it's going to do it time and time again. So what I've realized is, because I've realized that Newton and Einstein both calculated this phenomena, and we can now replace that calculation with demonstration, and then we can claim ownership of it, which is what we do. Relative density is the thing. Just to piss the Blurthers off, I'm now calling it, instead of Einsteinian and Newtonian, I'm now calling it Antonian gravitation, just to piss them off.
Nice.
So I don't. Obviously, gravitation is the wrong word, but if we call it something like what they use currently, they can kind of think of it as their thing. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm edging closer towards their language to pull them away. Because if I use the word gravitation, then that sounds acceptable to them. But if we redefine all the other terms that link from it, it's generally going to pull them away from the Newtonian fantasy that doesn't even exist. It's correlative only.
Okay, well, you'd have to give it your surname.
Is it
then,
okay if I call it Flurfian gravitation?
No, you'd give it Anthony's surname, so it'd be Rileyan gravity. That would work.
that's what I said
I like
the other
both of them.
day. Yeah. It's Riley gravity.
Rileyan. Oh, wow, that sounds posh.
Get your act together, man.
I love it. Brian, Rileyan. Oh, that's got a nice ring to it.
Rileyan. I mean, part of it is just to piss the Blurthers off. But the reality is we can demonstrate this stuff. So it is the explanation, unless science can go further than one step further and show that, well, actually, it was only correlative because there are other things that cause acceleration too. And they can refine my arguments, my demonstrations, my stuff. Because at the end of the day, I've put my name on the block here and it's me that's got all the flack. But the reality is it's been 18 months and no one's done anything to dispute it. Yeah, they can speak things into existence and they can bitch and moan about it. Doesn't change the fact, though. If you manipulate the density of the medium or the object, it'll move. Why? Who cares? It just does it. So unless it can be refined, then we're winning.
Go on, Chocolate.
So as I'm looking at, because I didn't realize, I didn't look for the original video, but now that I'm looking at it, like it pretty much it confirms what I suspected, that all the comments, oh, this is a great explanation, you deserve 1 million subscribers, this is amazing, it's the best channel for science, everything is perfect, amazing. Like every comment is, wow, this video is wonderful. But then you post it, all you say is, this is not gravity, it's just relative density, like the lady in the video was saying, and all the Globers lose their shit.
Yep.
It's hilarious.
You realize that you're also utilizing the same, you're employing the same magic, if you will. So you say you can speak things into existence. Yeah. So for example, we could now debate for a couple of minutes, and I hope you'll indulge me in doing exactly that, whether it's Rilean or Rilean gravity, because obviously this now exists. We've just spoken it into existence. So is it Rilean or Rilean? Which one is it again? This thing that definitely exists.
I've got to disagree, Nathan. We haven't spoken it into existence. This is an evolution based on experiment. Let's not dilute it with a speaking it into existence fallacy, because that's now going to be a thing.
No.
Acknowledge that it's based
speaking
on
the
experiment.
title. No. Speaking the title into existence. The phenomena and the established cause of the phenomena is very well established. You established it. Hence us conjuring, if you will, the title for the phenomena and its now validated cause. Well, that's going to be dubbed, I dub thee, Rilean gravity. Or is it Rilean?
Rilean. Well, it'll be spoken different from person to person and place to place. Sorry, but Rilean sounds better. It sounds more dominant.
Badass.
Yeah,
I think I'd change the last word. Rilean gravitation.
that's what I said the other day. Yeah, Rilean gravitation.
No, you're all wrong.
It sounds
Yeah,
so much more intelligent.
Rilean.
Yeah, I agree.
No, well, you're wrong. It's Rilean, and that's just how it's always going to be. It's always going to be Rilean gravitation. Oh, I've done it myself. I've said Rilean now. Oh, well, looks like that's the way it's going to have to be. It is actually Rilean.
Hang on. If you're Irish, it's
Flurfian gravitation. I ruined it.
Thanks for talking over me.
Thanks for ruining it.
If you're Irish, it's O'Reillian.
Yeah.
O'Reillian. Oh.
But there is obviously another knock-on effect from doing so, and that's like there are some people even on our side that want to reify into existence the other thing that's going on, which is the claim that there is the electrostatic the incoherent dielectric acceleration, and basically the argument for that is spiders' webs. Now, ultimately, it does move spiders' webs, but it doesn't move anything bigger than spiders' webs.
What?
So yes, that is a minuscule.
Oh God, stop! I don't understand. You can't just say spiders' webs and expect me to understand what the hell you're babbling about. Even though it's not your argument, you're going to have to expand on that. Don't dilute it too much that the audience doesn't
Okay, I think it's called ballooning, and I think the phrase comes from the idea that spiders are able to jump across from branches to branches as if by magic, and this thing called ballooning is attributed to electrostatics or whatever you want to call it, incoherent dielectric whatevers. But ultimately, it could just be riding a thermal at the same time. It's correlative, right? Now, they can demonstrate with rubbing a balloon on your chest or your t-shirt and then sticking it to the wall. You can demonstrate an attractive force there, but it disperses after a short period of time, and it doesn't seem to be permanent. Now, the claim is this incoherent dielectric acceleration is also a factor, and that might well be true, but it requires experiment to demonstrate. Now, if somebody can correlate that by demonstration that it is a factor that makes the egg move, for example, then I'll happily accept that it's correlative and there's more. But until that happens, we can't just calculate or reify into existence.
But electrostatics doesn't move over distance.
Oh,
it's
God,
always
that's where
short
Arwin's
range.
going to jump in, of course, because I'm trying to get... Right, so if you're trying to say that you need experimentation, you've made a big jump. So you're saying, well, if that's got something to do with the egg... Hold on. No. If you're saying that there's some sort of magnetism, incoherent, dielectric, or otherwise, then that would be the effect that you're going to be studying. So you're going to give me the validated cause of the effect of what is described and might even be capable of demonstration as incoherent dielectric magnetism? Well, that's your effect.
I'm just trying to
I
apply.
have that completely debunked. It's completely debunked with the molecular, sorry, excuse me, the molecular makeup of hydrogen and helium. What makes helium more dense is what they call neutrons, which is just innate matter. So that's it. It's over.
But I guess you can say electrostatics what is a thing without tying to it the claim. For instance, Riley brought up the fact that, well, not the they bring up these spiders, right? And they've also said it, you know, they can do this over large bodies of water too. But I don't see what this has to do with down. That's all I'm saying.
Electrostatics don't work over distance. The spider web thing only works because it is one persistent thread. If the thread was cut, the effect immediately drops because electrostatics don't attract other things over a vast distance. Very specific.
Yeah, but don't forget though, their claim is still correlative. There's no evidence that shows that changing the field potential between like A and B points causes the spider's web to move. Now it might well do it, but I haven't seen any demonstration to prove it. I've seen correlative claims, which is what Einstein and Newton did, but I haven't seen any demonstration. So it might well do it, and you can imagine that a static charge from a balloon might cause the effect, but nobody's actually done it. So until they've actually done it, let's just say, well, until you demonstrate it, then it's not a thing. It's just a story.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there any experiment?
Attract over distance.
Hold on. We'll get to Neil's question. But hold on. Exactly, we'll get to Neil in a sec. Just give me a sec. Right. So Neil's asking if there's any experiment. What are we observing as the phenomena, first and foremost? In this instance, I'm hearing all sorts of crazy stuff. I'm hearing incoherent dielectric magnetism, balloons stuck to walls, spiders. What's the phenomena we're studying?
Spiders appear to defy gravity.
Defy gravity? What's gravity?
Whoa.
I don't know, but it's quite possible that spiders have got a buoyancy.
Stop. I've heard all this. Stop. I don't need it again. Thank you.
Don't know what gravity is, but
stop.
Spiders
Hello. Just need to know what the phenomena we're studying is, and if it's gravity, because that's the subject matter at hand. So, is the phenomena gravity or not?
Phenomena is.
Say again.
Phenomena is spider doesn't fall. Is that what he's trying to say?
I just want to know what the phenomena we're studying is.
No, the phenomena is that the spider appears to jump between branches as if by magic, and he doesn't fall down.
Okay.
Because he can. That's down to. Sorry, Nathan. I talk after you.
No. That's it. I'm just trying to establish what if that's the phenomena. We're trying to figure out why spiders don't fall down, go boom boom when they jump. Is that the phenomena?
It sounds incoherent to me.
Yeah, that is the phenomena. Spiders appear to defy gravity when they make the first jump from point A to point B.
Again, everyone, shh. Anthony, your phenomena includes what you personally have described at the start of the show as a reification fallacy. So why are we describing a reification fallacy as a phenomena that involves spiders? This is beyond me. I'm getting very confused. It's giving me a headache.
Well, to be fair, there does appear to be a phenomena. There does appear to be a phenomena.
But spiders can jump, Anthony.
What is that
spiders
phenomenon?
Are great jumpers.
I'm getting it from all corners now. My God, I'm getting it from all corners. Not even that. From the chat, Evan5935. Nathan Oakley. Spiders appear to defy, according to him, gravity when producing a sort of web parachute-looking thing. What's gravity? Why is this part of the phenomena? I don't get it. I'm very unclear about this. I need clarifying.
Exactly, Nathan.
Wait, so are they using a web parachute? Because then are they even defying what you would call gravity?
Hold on, Brian. Hold on, Brian. Go ahead, Crackville. Let's try again.
Well, so can we just be clear? Is someone actually saying that they use a form of a web parachute? Is this what is being said by you, Sleeping?
I don't think that's the issue. It may be, but that's not the issue. The issue is what's the phenomena being studied? And if the phenomena is being described with the reification of gravity, then that's not a phenomena we observe.
No, of course not. The phenomena, in my opinion, would be, well, obviously, again, some form of displacement of air by form of a parachute, okay, that would allow it to, I guess, well, does it never fall down? Does it float?
I'm looking
Just
around the
float
room
using this
going,
country?
is this a wind-up? Is somebody having me on?
I don't know. Is someone having me on?
Is somebody having me on? Right, why are we discussing spider parachutes? What the hell
I
is
don't
going
know.
on?
Me too.
It's
That's
because
what I want to know too.
Well,
one at a
maybe
time.
Anthony
I
can
had
show us
Arwin
the
first.
video of this.
Arwin, what's going on? Why are we discussing spider parachutes? This seems silly.
Because it's being used to reify gravity by some people. I
No,
guess.
it's
my
been
God.
used to claim that the direction of things falling up or down is caused by this incoherent dielectric acceleration. However, there is no experiments to demonstrate that this is true. It's just rhetoric.
Bingo. That's my point. Where's the
And-
experiment?
Right. So
Exactly.
I'm curious.
Anthony, could
what-
Anthony please share the video? Sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry, Brian, I
this
didn't
seems
catch what you said,
weedy.
'cause-
Right,
Could you please share the
everyone
video?
stop. Right, I
of
want
this
Eli, then Crack Villain, then Brian. Eli, go ahead.
Can I talk too at
Then
some
Arwin.
point?
okay.
Thanks.
Actually, Eli, can
Yeah,
you wait
laugh.
1 second? Arwin was
Nah.
long in the queue first. Sorry, Eli. Go ahead,
Okay,
Arwin.
go ahead,
Then Eli.
Arwin.
Right. So I'm pretty sure that electrostatics of any sort, dielectric or otherwise, are not comparable to the formula, the mathematical reified formula of the original gravity, Newtonian gravity. So what I do think now, however, is what is actually the density of that spider web material? Because if by chance, can I finish? If by chance its density is effectively lower than maybe the air, then maybe that explains why it's used like that, because
Perfect.
it's
Thank
the
you.
ultralight product. Effectively,
Okay, we'll get
that
Anthony's
could be the
response
case.
after. Thank you, Arwin. Okay, Eli, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess I've lost why we're having this conversation in the first place. Which I guess Anthony would help, because I mean, on the one hand, if electrostatics has something to do with why the spider that once wasn't able to seemingly float can float because of a tiny thread, like something might be going on there. But if it's used to say, see, things are oriented in a fashion where things are have a bias down, that's not even what the spider's doing. That's all I'm saying. Like, it could be something, but
Okay,
as far as the up down thing, I don't get it.
Okay, I totally
Can I have
agree.
a go at
And-
this?
okay, everyone,
For this
hold on.
1
I'm
second?
getting there. We're getting some order. Right, next Crack Villain. Thank you very much, Eli. I couldn't agree more. I don't get the connection. It seems benign, but
so,
yeah. Go ahead, Crack
so
Villain.
we're talking about ballooning, right? So apparently people are either using this as reification of gravity, or they, like you said, maybe talking about a vector with currents. This is just, I believe this is just a misinterpretation. Maybe there is some sort of credibility to this, right? So I think we're talking about spiders that basically create balloons in order to escape, right? So they essentially create a sac out of web, and this sac is able to carry them away. Either small winds, okay, right? Air currents, electric air currents, obviously, as well. You know, obviously, remember, you know, birds always fly around on this stuff, okay? But yeah,
Okay,
obviously, this
okay,
comes again.
great.
Down to...
Thank you. No, okay,
On
brilliant.
screen for you.
I've got Adam presented, but Brian's in the wings. Then I want Sleeping Warrior, then Adam. So Brian, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to know what the thing was that was being claimed so we could see it. So I wanted to know if Anthony could share a video of this. Because it seems like there's a claim out there. None of us seem to know what the thing is. And if we see it, then we can decide, okay, because I was along the same lines as Arwen, right, is like a spider's defining density? No. You know, so show us the thing that's supposed to be the claim, and then we can go from there. Thank you.
I totally agree as well. Show me the phenomena. Let's establish what that is first. Sleeping Warrior, then Adam.
I've got a video of the phenomena.
But just bear with me, whoever that is. Sleeping Warrior, go ahead. You remember Arwen's point?
I don't really have anything to add. I mean, ultimately, Arwen's question of what is the density of spider's silk is a valid question. I'm just trying to look it up now. Obviously it's tiny, but it appears to be 1.2754. I'm looking into it. I think that's the question we need to ask. What is the density of spider's silk relative to air? We need to find that answer. So that's what I'm currently doing.
Perfect. Adam, you're on screen presented with the.
Yeah, I think there seemed to be a bit of confusion as to what the claim was. I did a little look-see. Do you want me to read it?
I don't know what it is. Feel free.
And then there's two paragraphs. So every day around 40,000 thunderstorms crackle around the world, collectively turning Earth's atmosphere into a giant electrical circuit. The upper reaches of the atmosphere have a positive charge and the planet's surface has a negative one. Even on sunny days with cloudless skies, the air carries a voltage of around 100 volts for every meter above the ground. In foggy or stormy conditions, that gradient might increase to tens of thousands of volts per meter. Ballooning spiders operate within this planetary electric field. When their silk leaves their bodies, it typically picks up a negative charge. This repels the similar negative charges on the surface on which the spiders sit, creating enough force to lift them into the air. And spiders can increase these forces by climbing on twigs, leaves, or blades of grass. Plants being earthed have the same negative charge as the ground that they grow upon, but they protrude into the positively charged air. This air creates substantial electric fields between the air around them and the tips of their leaves and branches, and the spiders ballooning from those tips. So it's the negative static electric charge that's produced on the thread that they send out that create sufficient static, I think, to create sufficient lift. A little similar to like if you build up sufficient static on a balloon, you can stick it to a wall. I think that's the theory.
Okay, fine. So we've got one answer. The phenomena being studied then, not gravity, static electricity, correct?
Yes, yeah. The
gravity.
claim seems clear.
I just need to make the conclusion. So static electricity is not gravity. It's static electricity.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So this phenomena has nothing to do with your egg, Anthony.
It says it there in the claim. Ballooning spiders operate within this planetary electric field. So it is a static effect that this is all talking about, how spiders utilize the small forces that static electrics generate to give them lift, because they can throw at us a web, use statics, and that because they're so light and tiny with a really, really long thread that can generate sufficient lift via static electricity within the standard planetary electric.
So let's add context then. Let's apply it. So we understand that static charge will stick balloons to walls, but if there's the claim that it causes, in addition, it's correlative to what we can already demonstrate, then we need to see that demonstrated. So what needs to happen is, if you believe that there is this incoherent dielectric acceleration, then apply it and demonstrate it within the context in which we're talking to demonstrate acceleration. Now, we all accept that there's a tiny, tiny force there. I don't think anybody disputes that. But we also know that it's kind of limited to what it's able to do, which will be relative to a spider's web. Now, if it doesn't push much more than a spider's web, and it's not able to push a leaf, for example. So Newton's apple is out the question. If there are limitations to that, it's an insignificant force. So yes, it might exist at a tiny, 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 tiny level, but if it's not strong enough to do anything, it isn't the reason why up from down is decided, as I've heard coined. Because we know the reason why up from down is decided. Well, we have a definition to distinguish up from down being a relative term, but we can also manipulate the density of the medium or the object, and that gives you the direction that's claimed to be caused by spider's web stuff, and it's just not true. It's too small for it to cause anything, but it is there. But let's not spend any time on it, because it's a waste of time.
But just to make the conclusion once more, it is static electricity, also known as incoherent dielectric magnetism, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Incoherent dielectric acceleration, I think they call it.
Well, it reminds me of people saying that the Coriolis effect is actually conservation of angular momentum. No. The conservation of angular momentum is the conservation of angular momentum, and the Coriolis effect is Coriolis effect. Likewise, static electricity is static electricity, and gravity is a reification fallacy.
Could I
Brian. Yeah, go, Brian. I'll go after you.
No, you go first, then.
Go ahead, Ted.
All right, that's fine. If Nathan's okay with it, I put three articles.
Go.
Yes. Spiders can fly by weaving 10-foot long silk parachutes to float through the air. I've got 3 articles in Masterbeat. That's just the first one. It's an interesting one on the crab spider, which I highlighted with a. It says the stickiness and thickness of air in relation to the spider silk is the key to the crab spider's whole deal. As the sticky air flows around the spider's fine threads of silk, it creates turbulence. So instead of using their own energy, like it says chumps, but I think it's trying to say chimps, the spiders let the air do the hard work of creating the turbulence that carries them aloft. The researchers suspect the updrafts that lift the spiders only occur at lower speeds, which is why the spiders don't balloon when the wind is gusting.
Can I add something?
Feel free.
Well, can I go? Can I just go
You
first?
can, Brian, and then Eli. Go ahead.
Thank you.
That's twice.
The debunk of it completely having anything to do with an up or down vector is gas, because the sun causes convection within the waters and the atmosphere and the atmos, and the air has a displacement that happens due to warm and cold air having different densities, and the air and gases are not affected at all by magnetism or really electricity or anything. So, convection completely debunks that claim.
Eli?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there are, I think you would call them parasailers. They don't have any motors or anything. They just have, the parachute, and they use the currents of the wind to gain an elevation. So, I mean, that seems analogous to what 10th Man is saying with the spiders.
Yeah, I deal with spiders every day in my greenhouses. Every night they do their webs to catch the mosquitoes or flies or whatever got in there, and I go through every day, break them up, and they're back the next day. And a lot of them are running away from me when they see me on the frame of the grow bed, and a lot of them just throw out a silk strand and go straight down to run away. There isn't much air movement in my greenhouse when the doors aren't open. So, but when there is, they're all over the place. They're going left, right, up, down, don't matter.
Anybody else? Any more for any more? Crack Villain, did you want to add something?
No, I could basically add that this was confirmed, in fact, by an experiment in 2018. And basically, yeah, what's been said so far is exactly correct. There is actually videos of this ballooning spiders. It's not so much a thread; it's called kiting. For that reason, it's basically a balloon they create, and yeah, it uses not just winds; it also does. It seems to be in relation to the electric fields, and also convection as well is involved in some way.
So we need to add a little bit of magnitude to that. How strong is this?
Well, I don't know how I can add about strength to it, because it says the journeys achieved vary from a few meters to 100 kilometers. Even atmospheric samples collected from balloons at 5 kilometers altitude and ships mid-ocean have reported spider landings, and the mortality is actually high. So there's different species that have different.
From that, we can infer that the magnitude could be massive. So,
what are you guys saying? What is it you're trying to say here? I live on 32 acres. I'm walking in the middle of it, and all of a sudden I see a spider land on one of my kids' face out of nowhere. The wind is carrying him. What is going on here?
We're just trying to quantify the claim to see how strong the effect is that is claimed, and whether or not it does define the direction for which we can all observe things seem to fall up and down. We perceive these things to be up and down, not that they are an absolute. That's what we're trying to do.
But what's that got to do with the spider? But what's that got to do with the spider?
Oh,
in
wow.
the middle of a plain
1 second,
field,
just to add a little bit more. Many sailors have reported spiders being caught in their ship's sails over 1,600 kilometers, 990 miles away from land.
Okay, yes, but I just want to answer 10th man's question because it's being utilised, from what I can glean from this conversation. Massive props to Anthony for giving it such consistency. Is that there's a claim by way of a false comparison between static electricity and a claim of the assignment of a downward vector, which is formerly known in the heliocentric rhetoric as gravity, but on the flat Earth side as a juxtaposition of incoherent dielectric magnetism, also known as static electricity, being the attributable downward vector cause, formerly known in a different model as gravity. Now, that has been utilising a claim of spiders, from what I can glean, to assert that this incoherent dielectric magnetism is actually in effect and demonstrable as a natural phenomena with the spiders. Am I correct in my summary, Anthony?
Yes.
Can I add something?
Wow.
Could I say something after Tent? If Tent's going to say something?
No.
I just said wow.
I
I
was
can't
there
believe
before you.
that they have to stretch that much. Pun intended. Go, Brian.
Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
crack villain.
Thank you. I just wanted to stay
Brian, go
again
ahead.
for.
No, righteous.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, it was righteous. Let me just say something quick.
Nathan?
Just let Righteous get his words in and then go ahead, Brian.
Okay.
Righteous, go ahead.
Instead of using the spiders, why not just use like gyroscopes? Like they create something that negates this, what you call it, incoherent, static, whatever, right? So because they negate this other variable, is why gyroscope work the way they work.
You're gonna have to pad that out for us to make it make sense. I don't know if you're making this claim.
A gyro creates what is the word? It creates a dipole, right? And a dipole negates this incoherent, static, whatchamacallit, magnetism, right?
You don't know, but then I don't know,
We're not-
Righteous. So you're gonna have to pad this
Well,
out.
that's how it works. It's certainly not negating just buoyancy and density because it's electric.
Yeah, but the claim is that this dielectric acceleration or whatever causes an up and down vector, but convection of air disproves that because air, all gases are not affected, can't be affected by magnetism or electricity, and we know that convection is warm air that's becoming less dense is being displaced by colder air that has gained density. And that's also displacing the colder air as the colder air is displacing it. So one displaces the other down, the other displaces the other up. It's nothing to do with the dielectric. So even though what Righteous is saying has relevance, because I doubt he's saying it for nothing, it's not needed.
Well,
But
yes,
it has
but
nothing to do with
while we are
gravitation.
while we're postulating that, and Paul has pointed this out from the chat, or Bible literalist, I should say. A quick read of this article gave me the impression that it was due to different electric fields, not wind. In other words, that's what's being postulated in the article, which is why it's being proposed as an evidence of incoherent dielectric magnetism or static electricity. But that's being juxtaposed into the reason for an assignment of up and down. And it's like these two things aren't linked.
So I go on, Righteous. Sorry.
That wasn't me.
It wasn't Righteous.
Okay. I thought someone was like, maybe it was Eli. Sorry.
Did anyone else that hasn't spoken already have any comment on this that they wanted to get in, but maybe haven't had the opportunity to muscle in? Okay, while no one's answering, I'll just give a summary. So we are talking about the flat Earth assertion that we do have a quote-unquote gravity, but it's actually incoherent dielectric magnetism that's demonstrated with these spiders and their displacement. So one last call. Anybody else who hasn't spoken already want to add anything that we haven't had already?
I can't say something because I already spoke.
Give them a couple of seconds more just to see if anybody else is shy and does actually have something to add.
I would just say.
Hold on,
Crack Villain. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I would just say that using the claim that somehow this incoherent dielectric magnetism or acceleration or whatever you call it is actually gravity, and then using the spiders to prove that. Aren't we talking about the spiders going up and moving around in the air. We're not talking about spiders falling down due to gravity. And
Yeah,
from what I remember,
claim
gravity's
is-
pulling things down, right?
Look, chocolate. Right,
The claim is
through this conversation, I've actually thought it was a wind-up. This to me is a joke.
Yeah, I've got a
Yes,
slight
well.
headache from this nonsense. What are we talking about even?
yeah. The claim is that it denotes up from down. It is the deciding factor. Up from down. That is the claim.
And if
Well,
it's Billy actually
convection.
went there, we could disprove this instantly. Well, I'm sorry, because obviously we have electrostatics and magnetism. This also has created, I guess what they're saying is that up and downward vector could be decided by this thing. I get that, but it isn't a stable up or down whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I have to bring back in gas. Gas is not affected by electricity or magnetism. So, and we have convection, which is a change in density.
Again, we're talking about
caused by the
the
sun.
vector, Brian. The vector of the buoyancy and density.
Sorry, Richards?
We're talking about the
Vector
vector
is-
of the buoyancy and density.
The word
Let's
I-
keep
The
it
word
simple.
vector is a defined term. So vector has both direction and magnitude. Well, we know that mass has got magnitude, but it lacks direction. But when you put two masses together competing for the same space, be it liquids or solids or gases, if there's two things together in the same area competing for the same space, then you get a direction. And that's the bit that blurters don't want to tell you, because their model states that mass doesn't do anything, which on itself is true. It's the same reason why density isn't a force, because on its own it isn't. But the minute you have it next to something else that's competing for the same space, all of a sudden an acceleration occurs, and then mass does cause something then, and they just don't like being told it because it doesn't support their model.
Exactly. Well said.
Except for the mass bit.
Well, what's mass? Yeah.
And what model? They got a model yet?
Yeah, they say they've got a model, but you know, I've been asking for it for the longest of times and never actually got it.
Any Globers in Discord got a model? You
Can
wanna
we see it?
present to us? Yeah, can we see it? Can we talk about it?
What's known as poking the bear.
So the conclusion of this spider's web point is that unless it can be demonstrated that it actually does cause an effect, then speaking it into existence doesn't do it. We've got past that now. That's gone. So let's demonstrate it. Otherwise, sit down, because it doesn't do it. Stop talking about it as though it's a thing. You're bringing it into existence like gravity. It's no different.
In the conclusion for this, hang on. The conclusion for the spiderweb thing in 10th man's version is the answers on the World Wide Web.
With that, I'll say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you tuned in, subscribed, commented, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for switching your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!